Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Pipe Bomb Sessions. And the WWE is on the road to the Royal Rumble. This week it continued with both Raw and SmackDown, as well as, of course, they have Saturday night's main event happening this upcoming weekend. And that is going to be very interesting, especially because it is being highlighted with a massive fatal four-way to determine who's going to be facing the Scottish psychopath Drew McIntyre at the Royal Rumble itself. Of course, that fatal four-way features none other than the Viper Randy Orton, the upcomer and new NXT star, who's now on the main roster, Mr. Trick Williams himself, an old guy of Drew McIntyre's and a rival himself, Damian Priest, and of course the underdog of underdogs, Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn has had such a rough 2025. My goodness, he was on a losing streak. However, maybe 2026 is his year. Let's see. Let's see how things go. Except for that, we of course have the women's tag team title matchup where we see Rio going against Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez of the Judgment Day. And of course, and this is a very interesting matchup, we got the former WWE champ, Cody Rhodes, facing Jacob Fatu. I think that's actually a very interesting matchup to look at. And let's hit that one a little bit first, right? Reason being, honestly speaking, I think the Jacob Fatu matchup, that's a matchup for Fatu to really show his dominance. Since he's returned, he's been dominant. He's looked like this unstoppable force. I think this momentum needs to continue going into the Royal Rumble match itself. And what better way to make it continue and really put a stamp more on the map in 2026 in his return than Fatu beating Cody Rhodes in a clean matchup. Yeah, honestly, he should. I don't think there should be any interference, no DQs, none of this stuff, man. We've seen enough of it. Don't do it. Let's just get Fatu more momentum. I think Cody Rhodes can afford the loss here. Plus, you see Cody kind of lose a couple of matchups in a row, kind of get that little bit of doubt. And of course, Cody did already declare himself for the Rumble, and he's going to be looking to tie Stone Cold's record of 3 Rumble wins. Now that is going to be something crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't know who's going to win the Rumble itself, but I do know I'm putting my money on Jacob Fatu beating Cody Rhodes this upcoming weekend at Saturday night's main event, honestly. I think it's actually a matchup again, it's a matchup for Fatu to lose. It doesn't make sense to me why they make Fatu return, be this dominant guy just for Cody to pin him, right? Like, that would kind of halt or put a little bit of a damper on his momentum after returning, especially with the Rumble happening in less than 2 weeks. I think he got to get in there. I expect Fatu to actually be somewhat of a dark horse even. Maybe have a dominant Rumble appearance. I would not be surprised with that. I'm looking forward to it. I'm a big fan of the Samoan Werewolf. Boom. I hope he does get this W. Another team that possibly is most likely actually going to be retaining their titles is the Women's Tag Team Champs of Rio. Of course, they also declared themselves for the Rumble, as well as their opponents they're facing this weekend in the Judgment Day with Roxanne and Liv, as well as Raquel we saw also declaring. But the thing here is as simple as this. Do I see Rio losing the titles this quick? No. Will this loss of the Judgment Day see more kind of creases happen? You know what I mean? More type of situations like, oh, hey, what's going on here? Is the Judgment Day really falling apart here? Liv Morgan really hyped up Finn before that world title match that he had against Cody. Of course, he ended up losing, but we'll touch base on that in just a second, because I want to go to the main event of Saturday night's main event, which is that fatal four-way, who, in my opinion, I think the guy who should come out of that with a victory should be Sami Zayn. Let him go to the Rumble. Let him face Drew McIntyre. McIntyre, of course, is 11-0 against Zayn. That just adds a whole new, like, just a whole new layer to the story and to the rivalry right there, right? And I'm not saying I expect Sami Zayn to win. I actually expect Drew McIntyre to really hold on to that title until the Mania, maybe even further than Mania. I don't expect him to lose that title just yet. I'm just happy, honestly, guys, that hey, the Rumble was of course always going to be happening at this time, but it just seemed like WWE did not acknowledge it until this past week, where we got a bunch of people now declaring, thank God. I mean, yes, it wasn't all of them, but hey, it is what it is. On the men's side, we got about, I believe, 6 people already declared. On the women's side, we have nine participants already declared. One of them, of course, is Liv Morgan, who, fun fact, I know Liv may not be, you know, integrated in some, women's title rivalry picture right now. Liv Morgan hasn't won a Rumble. So she could win it. I mean, hey, she's saying that this is the Judgment Day's year. Maybe she's the one who breaks all these losing streaks for them and gets that W for the Judgment Day at the Rumble itself. I think it's going to be something very interesting to look at, very interesting to follow, right? I'm looking forward to the Rumble. Rumble is one of my favorite PLEs of the year every year. I like to see what they come up with, what happens, and things like that, right? But let's touch base on what we saw this past week, especially on Raw, right? I want to really hone in on that world title match. First off, good matchup between the champ Punk and Balor. Balor, of course, ended up losing that title matchup. However, I want to really touch base on how Balor entered that match and exited that match. He entered that match with his old theme. We saw the OG Balor theme. We even saw he did the thing with the lights, guys. Like, what? Hold up. We got face Balor coming through? If that didn't really do it, end of the match, he hugs it out, shakes Punk's hand. We don't really see him attack like he would have in the past. So in my opinion, is Balor turning face going into the Rumble? Are we even possibly going to see the Judgment Day call out Balor for how he acted post-matchup with Punk next week on Raw? I would not be surprised with that. Maybe Balor goes into the Rumble with the chip on his shoulder, like, hey, you guys supposed to have my back, you guys are supposed to support, but I've been supporting you guys, and now you're just coming at me. You know what? Maybe he has a change of heart and says he doesn't need Judgment Day. I know for a fact he doesn't need the Judgment Day. Let's get the face Balor back. It's 2026. Honestly, I'm going to throw Balor's name as a dark horse to win the Rumble this year. Screw it. I really think there's a few dark horses going into this Rumble, and especially how things are all over the place with what is actually going on with both title pictures. Of course, we thought Cody was going into Mania season as champ. We got Drew McIntyre, and that's freaking awesome. Best trigger pull in a while that we've seen. Mix things up when it comes to Mania season, man. We don't want to see the same stuff. Question now is, who's going to be coming out of that Rumble as the winner? Who's going to be coming out as the champ when it comes from the Rumble matchup? I mean, I still believe Drew McIntyre should retain. I believe that, either Rumble winner, I think it's going to be a little exciting, right? I know they haven't really touched base or talked about it as much up until this week. Of course, 2 weeks before, I would have liked it to have been a little bit earlier, but hey, it's all good. Now, another man who declared himself for the Rumble was Gunther. Now, what's interesting about this is, and now we know, Gunther is going to be actually pulling double duty at the Rumble. By that, he's not only participating in the men's Rumble matchup, but he has now goaded and got AJ Styles to agree to a matchup under his condition that if he beats Styles this time around, it's over for Styles. Of course, we know 2026 was Styles last year. He said this was going to be it for him. But, man, do I really see Styles retiring at the Rumble? Honestly, I just don't, man. I don't see. I get it. It's 10 years after he debuted at the Rumble. I would understand why that could be the spot. I just feel like this has literally all the markings of a DQ finish, of like some type of way that Styles gets a victory, which is going to lead to Gunther being a little pissed off, knowing that he can retire Styles. And that is where we get part 3, Styles Gunther Mania. I see that possibly being the story of this Gunther Styles rivalry going forward. I didn't expect them to run the first matchup on a Raw. It was a very creative way to get that finish, I will say, with the Gunther tap out. However, now it's interesting that Styles really wanted this matchup, and he said, you know what? I'll put my career on the line. Screw it. I'll agree. It's official. Gunther Styles. Styles loses. Career's over. Is Gunther going to add another guy to his resume, especially within the last 12 months of retiring them? Of course, he has Goldberg and John Cena already. Is Styles gonna be added into that list? Man, we can only wait and see. Again, I just don't see that happening. But I mean, hey, let's see. Let's see what happens. I'm excited. We got WWE kind of getting me riled up for the Rumble. I'm cool with it. Let's get things rolling. Let's see who else declares, man. I want to see some big names. I also want to see some surprises. Of course, I've been saying, and I want to say this one more time, ladies and gentlemen, we will see Chris Jericho, Y2J, make his epic return at the Royal Rumble. Now, I thought of this recently. What if Jericho is truthfully only here for an extremely short run? What if it's not as long as we think? What if Gunther, at the beginning of the night, retires AJ Styles, then at the Rumble match itself, he eliminates Chris Jericho, and that kickstarts their rivalry going into Mania, and maybe Gunther convinces Y2J to put his career then on the line as well. And again, you just keep adding people to this list of Gunther retiring these guys. I don't know, man. It's very interesting to me, and I can't wait to see it. However, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to wait another about 11 days for that, 10 days for that at least. So, hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hopefully you guys liked everything I would say. And as well as, give me your predictions. What do you guys think is about to happen at Saturday night's main event, as well as the Royal Rumble? Of course, I'll see you guys next week, and you guys have a good weekend.